what we call the red bar issue, where you go to log in, you get this ugly red bar, basically block you from logging in. And we found out that it was the cache in Google Chrome getting full and couldn't take any more. You don't really need to know what it is if you don't know what it is. It's not a big deal. But basically, the fix was Shift Control Delete. Shift Control Delete, Enter, and it would say, do you want to empty your cache? And you say yes. That's all. You're just taking out the trash, basically. And then it works. It clears it out. We haven't seen it in a while, so you may never see that. You may never see any of these issues. This is just in case. Okay. Make sure you're doing Shift Control Delete, not Alt Control Delete, because Alt Control Delete is the kill key, right? Okay. There's our rough reading list, and I say rough because the reading portion of this class, guys, it's needed, but it's going to be very independent, right? We're not going to come in here and we're going to say, okay, we'll do chapter 1 quiz today, blah, blah, blah. We're not doing that. I've been teaching for 30 years, and the material that I present to you is parallel to the material that's in the book, right? So you need the material in the book and the things that I tell you, and when you put them together, that's when you get comprehension, hopefully. Okay. So roughly, the readings will be laid out like that. The bigger thing to pay attention to is in the lesson folder, guys. And I know this is a lot, so you need to play with this yourself. The lesson folder is the folder that we work from. And this is the place, as you can see, where the specific chapters are, okay? So, for example, in the beginning, at the very next class, we're going to be talking about several things, but the main topic will be the writing process in this business. So, you might want to skim through these, just so you know those chapters, so that you know what I'm talking about, and you can help with the discussion. It's supposed to be a discussion, not a lecture, okay? I could talk all day. I could, if I had another bottle of water, I could go until 3 o'clock. Okay? We need to have a discussion. All right. You need to participate. And the only way to participate is by knowing some things for it. Okay? And also, you're all unique, guys, and me too. Okay? Everybody brings something different to the class. May not be the most experienced in certain things, etc., but you have a unique palette of experience. Things happen to you that didn't happen to me, and then vice versa. Okay? You bring a whole wealth of things that you could potentially share. It's not required. I'm not going to we're going to share it. But it helps, right? It helps, especially if you hear something, you say, oh yeah, and you give me an example from your own unique perspective. Someone else might say, "Oh yeah, that happened to me too. I get it." So it's all to help, right? And if everybody can contribute like that at some point, we have a vast pool of information we can process. Okay? And hopefully, right? The idea is you throw enough against the wall, some of it will stick, right? The idea is it's presented to you in several different ways, and through one of those ways, or a combination of those ways, you'll get it. It's not the hardest stuff in the world. It's fast. That's going to be the part that's hard. Okay? We have me available. We have tutors available. Okay? We have all kinds of learning support available to help you. Okay? Get that AMP. That's my goal too, is to help you get the AMP. I don't want you coming to me at the end and saying, why did you give me a C? I didn't give you anything. I recorded it. I'm watching and seeing what you're doing and taking notes. That's my job. Okay? So we want to give you as many tools as possible to achieve that. I want you to get it. That'd be great. So. Okay, so at any rate, that's where the chapters live on each of the lesson headers, okay? And you can see it's basically broken down into what we're going to be talking about. And the 3 red ones, I'm going to be focusing on these the most here because those are your essays. That's where your points are coming from. While everything else is important because it will help you with this stuff. Okay? This is where I'll be focusing. I'm going to show you that in just a second. Okay? So we do 3 essays, as you can see. Essay 1, essay 2, essay 3. One will be an illustration essay, one will be a compare and contrast, and one will be an argument. Okay? The first one is just an example from your life. Okay? There won't be any source required, you're the expert. The second 2, you'll need secondary sources, and when we get into it and I explain to you what it is, you'll understand why. Okay? So it's heavy on format. And format is easy. You can copy format. You can look at the little video I have at the end of here where it says formatting a Word doc for MLA and copy it. You can jump in here, any of the essay folders, and you can find the model. Oh, it goes pretty quick. Okay, there's the model. And you can copy that format. You can see what makes this format, and I'll just apply it to you. Formatting is not hard. You know, the hard part is going to be coming up with the ideas. And there are suggestions in here as well. Getting ahead of myself anyway. I want to finish looking at these very quickly. Yeah, there's the assignments note that I put in here. And basically it's telling you that our class calendar is the definitive source for all work. Okay? In other words, if you see an assignment mentioned somewhere in your readings, check the calendar. If it's on the calendar, then it's real. If it's not on the calendar, don't worry about it. You're welcome to email me and ask me. The first thing I'm going to say, of course, is did you check the calendar? Because that's the first thing I'm going to do. So as I said, guys, all of our work is up there now. If I show it to you, you're going to be shocked. If you haven't seen it, you're going to be shocked. Because it basically shows an assignment every week. Because we only have, it's scary, but it's not hard. It will require effort, but it's not hard. No extra credit, because you see the ton of work that we'll have. What we've got to do is do the work. Okay? And then all work will be submitted to Dropbox, and I'll show you where they live in a second. They're in the assignment folders at the bottom. So you're going to do a rough draft, and then before the due date, you're going to upload it into Dropbox. That's all. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Have you ever had?
There is none.
No one.
There's only 6.
Oh, I was going to ask.
See, I talked. If you don't cut me off and say something, just keep talking.
I was going to ask,
Yeah.
in the past, have you run into any issues with different file formats?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what would you recommend?
So the 2 file formats, I'm glad you brought that. That's a nice segue because there's a note coming up, an announcement coming up about that. Dropbox accepts doc files, Word documents, doc or docx, whatever, whichever one you use, or PDF. Okay. It will not accept a link to the cloud. So if your files are saved somewhere in the ether, like 365 or something like that, you have to download it first. It's not a big deal, it's just one extra step. Instead of just attaching that link, because it'll kick back, it won't even let you upload it. It'll kick back and say, this is, yeah. And I can't open it anyway because we're so strict on phishing and all that stuff, okay? I can't open it. So it needs to be a real document. And all you'll do is, in your online folder, wherever you have it, you'll highlight it, you'll just say download. And then when you go to upload it into Dropbox, you'll just go to your download folder and pull it out of there. Because then it won't be a link anymore, it'll be a hard document. That's a good point. I'm going to show you that in a second. It's up here. Technical issues. Another reason why you see a lot of problems and such up here is because ultimately you're responsible for the tech side, guys. In other words, if you have an issue with Blackboard or whatever, you have to troubleshoot it. You have to call support if necessary. first I would, check any of our announcements and see if the solution is in there, like I just showed you. Okay? If not, then you need to, work through the steps. There's a link to support in here. There's a phone number. There's all kinds. They're available all the time. Okay? And remember, when you have a problem, guys, and this is where I have a problem talking to any support, right? I've sweated over and struggled over a problem for hours. Right? And finally, I get the gumption to call support, and I call them, and they give me the answer like that. Because they probably have dealt with that same problem 60 times. Okay? So don't be, slow to call them. Call them as soon as you get the problem if you've figured it out. You can't fix it yourself. They've probably dealt with it a million times and will have the answer for you immediately. Okay? But don't wait till the last second either. Make sure you're working, the computer's working and all that stuff. You don't want to turn your computer on the day of a deadline and figure out that you've got a problem. Okay? Because deadlines are deadlines. And remember me saying we don't have makeup work or late work or anything like that. So the calendar shows you everything that's coming due. So don't wait to do it. You can look at the last stuff right now and see what you're doing. You probably wouldn't be able to do much because you don't know what we're doing yet, but you will. And at that point, you'll be able to look ahead a little bit so you're not surprised by anything. And remember, you're a student, you have access to all the labs in here too, so you can do it here as well. Okay? So there are a lot of outlets. Obviously, if there's a problem and I hear about it, I'll let you know. Right? But one of the reasons they have that policy, guys, is because I'm an English teacher. If you rely on me to solve a tech problem, we're both going to have a problem. Okay? I will have no idea, generally. I don't know how to fix those things. That's why I said if I do figure it out or I hear, I'll tell you. Okay? Otherwise, you have to talk to them yourself. Excuse me. Okay. Essay work. All right, so the essays can be found. I just showed them to you briefly. Okay, I'm not going to read this in detail. You can. Okay. But basically, the essays are found in the lesson folder among the lessons. And you'll see them, I highlighted them in red, and I call them Essay 1, Essay 2, Essay 3. Okay. So they're there. I'm going to go over the lesson folder in detail in just one second. Okay. There's your Dropbox file format, right? You can read that, but it says what I just said 5 minutes ago. It will only accept doc files or PDF files. And those are the two most common formats that get saved anyway. One's a document and one's a picture of a document. Okay. Again, guys, I'm skimming through pretty much, but you need to go back and look at these in some detail because you're still going to be responsive. Right? Class start times, we start at 10 a.m. Monday. I understand late, first day. Went to the wrong building. Okay. That's fine, but moving forward, please try to be on time, okay? Just because it can be distracting. Cell phones and ear paraphernalia, it's rude, and I want to teach to the tops of anybody's heads, okay? If you have to use your phone, just go in the hallway and use your phone. Like if I got something I couldn't not deal with, I would just excuse me and deal with it. Okay? That's fine. You don't have to ask me. Bathrooms, good luck. As you can hear by the noise, not right at this moment, but normally, they're redoing all the bathrooms bit by bit. So I think they're in the back hallway. Yeah, and this one over here, the only one I know of from here that's close is if you go diagonally that way, right by the exit. There's a bathroom, set of bathrooms right there. So if you have to go, it's good. Lazy questions. There are no such thing as stupid questions. There are lazy questions, though. And those are questions that you could have answered yourself by simply doing the reading you were supposed to do in the first place. That's what I mean by a lazy question. So now if somebody says to me, what's a lazy question, I can say, it's a lazy question right there, because you're supposed to read that. These are some other issues. Again, if you have an issue or a problem, check here, because you might find it here. There are several things here. You probably won't have any problem at all with this. And this goes for my online students listening as well. You probably want to, this is all worst case scenario stuff. Right? It's nice to know what to do if something breaks. Just so you don't have, a 5-alarm emergency. Now this particular one goes into detail about our first assignment. It's also in the lesson folder where it belongs, but I pulled it out here a semester ago because they had some questions and it was just easier to deal with in the announcements. We're going to go over this in a bit, but it's here. Okay, so those are our announcements, guys. And as you saw in the first announcement, the welcome quiz is due by midnight on Thursday, this Thursday. Right, so you have a couple days. I wouldn't wait, but you do have a couple of days, okay? The welcome quiz lives in the Start Here folder. There it is right there. Confirm attendance, welcome quiz. Okay. Basically it's saying read the announcements, look over the syllabus, and then take the quiz. Hint, hint, there's questions about the announcements and the syllabus. The quiz. Okay. So the syllabus. You can see this is broken into 3 parts, guys. This is very much like an end-user license agreement. Okay? Those little pieces of software you're supposed to read before you play the game or whatever, and you just usually click accept. That's an end-user license agreement. You're basically saying, if anything happens to my phone as a result of playing this game, I won't sue the company. Something like that. And almost everything has some form of end-user license agreement in some way or another. Okay? That's kind of what the syllabus is, if I want to be realistic. All right? Look over it, know what's there. Okay? I'm going to skim over it real quick right now, but whatever, not in great detail. And whether you choose to look it over or not, you're still responsible for what it says. Right? Okay. So at some point in detail, look at it. Now this is, as I said, 3 parts. The first part is the state part. Okay? We are a state college, right? We are under the technical college system of Georgia, which there are 30-something or whatever it is, technical colleges. Okay? We are the flagship. All right? So we have some competencies that are set out by the state that are in that folder about this specific class. So if you're into jargon regarding education and whatnot, read that well. That's got the jargon. The second part is the school part. Gwinnett Tech, and this is the one that's telling you about, what an A is. Yeah. Basically telling you about what an A is, what a B is, that we're not an attendance-taking institution. Okay. Requirements for the computer, etc., etc. COVID-19 stuff again. I'll mention the withdrawal policy just because it gets confusing. If you, for whatever reason, need to withdraw from the class, guys, make sure you do it officially. Don't just stop coming. If you stop coming, you're going to stay on the roster and you're going to end up getting sick. Okay. You need to go to one stop. They have a piece of paper you fill out. You formally withdraw from the class. The instructors can't do it for you anymore. You used to be able to years ago, but not anymore. Now it's completely illegal. Okay. So just be aware of that. If you have an issue or whatever, you think you're going to drop the class, come talk to me first and maybe we can fix it. And if not, I'll point you down to the one stop. Okay. All right. Academic integrity, this is all good. Again, this is the end user license stuff. This is the stuff you're responsible for. In other words, the plagiarizing, the fraud, all that kind of negative stuff. Okay. It's very, 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 very hard to cheat with Dropbox. Let me tell you why in a minute. Anybody use Dropbox before? turnitin.com. Basically, it takes your essay and it looks for it or and comes back with a similarity. So if you plagiarize, obviously your similarity score is going to be like 80%. That means that 80% of your essay is someone else's work. So it's almost impossible. And you won't need to, friends. This is not complicated stuff, okay? We're going to go through, and like I said, it's my responsibility to help you as much as I possibly can to get that A and B. And I want to, and if you don't get an A and a B, I'm going to be sad. All right? And then this last one is the instructor policy. This is me specific. Okay? You have all that stuff in Blackboard. This is the text that you're required, guys. The bookstore has it. Okay? It is relatively inexpensive. It's a very good book. And again, you need it because you need to follow the chapters. And there's a lot of supplemental stuff here that can help you through as well. Okay. All right. Now, remember we said in the beginning there are basically two kinds of grades here, the assignment grade and the essay grade. This is how it breaks out. All the things that are called assignments, for example, the welcome quiz, any drafts that you do, if we were doing theses, those kinds of things, they would get called assignments. And those grades, and those grades get put into a column and added together and multiplied by 20% at the end. So all of your assignments are 20% of your grade. Nowhere near as high as the essay. Still important though. 20% is 20%, right? So you want to get as many points as you can with the bar. That's the big assignments are the final versions of these essays, and these are the state requirements. That's why they're worth so much. Okay? The state requires 3 essays, income 1 and income 3. So that's why you see these first, for example. The final essay for the illustration essay will be worth 20% of your grade by itself. Okay? Compare and contrast essay, essay 2, is worth 25%. And the argument essay is worth 35% by itself. Okay? So it's good the way it's worked because in the beginning, when it's not worth as much as it is later, you know, you're getting your footing, you're learning how to do it, you're getting seeing what I want, etc., getting used to it. Okay? You might not be as perfect as you will be towards the end, which is good because at the end, towards the end, the percentages go up. So by the time you get to this argument essay, you'll be thinking that's great that it's worth that much of your grade because you'll nail it. You're going to nail it. Okay? And you're going to want the points for that. So it's a cumulative thing, guys. At the end, the computer will add up 20% from your essays, 20% of whatever you got on the illustration essay final, 25% of your compare and contrast, 35% of your argument essay, and that's your final grade. Okay? So if you come to me at the end and say, okay, look at my grade, I calculated this is what I came up with, I'm going to say the weights. And that's what I'm going to mean. In other words, you forgot about the weights. Not everything is equal in proportion. So just keep that in mind going forward. And I believe in my grade book in Blackboard, it keeps track of it for you. It'll tell you what weight it is.